Oh, hey, I'm glad you're here. If you're a first-time listener, then thank you for finding us. And if you're a long-time listener, thanks for your support. Up top, I just wanted to educate you on a few other podcasts I've been fortunate enough to guest on. Up first, Schlock and Awe, which is hosted by Lindsay Wilkins. Lindsay welcomes a guest, and they propose a double feature of two films that you may think don't go together. I recently was on and we paired Final Girls and Snatchers, which has some very interesting connective tissue. I love championing Snatchers, and if you're here because of Ghoulies, check out Snatchers. The other podcast I want to shout out is Solid Six Podcast. Allison, Brady, and Josh host this double feature podcast, which rotates who hosts and who selects the films and themes that'll be discussed. My episode was part of a serial killer vengeance double, so we talk Ernest Goes to Africa. Just kidding. Nobody should talk about Ernest Goes to Africa. We do I Saw the Devil, so subscribe to Solid Six and check out episode 70. Now, we love educators here on VHS, and we had Elric Kane and Dr. Rebecca McKendry to talk Fortress and After Midnight. We've had John, a teacher, talk about Class of 1999, and Kaveh, an administrator, talk about the Chocolate War. So it was inevitable that we would end up here. So without further ado, the film is Ghoulies 3, Ghoulies Go to College, the guest is a college professor, and this is VH-Us. Hello, and welcome to VHS, the podcast where each episode is about a film and the guest has the profession portrayed in the film. I'm your host, Dirk Marshall, and I encourage you to interact with us on Twitter and Instagram at VHUS_podcast. Tell me what guests you love. Tell me you didn't like Deceiver. Tell me you want to be a guest, or just tell me I'm wrong. You can educate me, and I'm here for it all. Someone else who is here to school us on all things is Doug Mccambridge, who's a college professor. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you, Dirk. I'm so excited that you brought me on for this movie.
Yes. While we're talking about it, what is it you collegiately profess?
Oh, I teach graphic design.
Okay.
It's the visual arts. So to call me a college professor, not real college professor, if you want to think of it that way, I'm not teaching physics or anything like that, or even philosophy. No, it's,
right.
I teach kids how to play around in Photoshop. Let's say that.
Excellent. And I noticed the movie posters behind you. Are they attracting to you because of the films themselves, or is there also a design element that you find?
Oh, there's always a design element. I would never buy a poster to a film that I do not like just based on the design. Sure. But I try and blend my love of film and design. And that's it. I've gotten into movie poster design, I don't know, decades ago, possibly. Okay, over a decade ago. And I really do. I love it. Again, I'm a very visual person. So if you ask me what my favorite movies are, things like that, I mean, I am going to go very visual. I don't want to say over storytelling, but I'm really easy to get on board. If you're throwing cool visuals at me, like, fine, David Lynch, I don't know what's going on half the time. Great. But it is the most interesting stuff to look at. And I am all about that.
Yeah, I totally agree. What's your take on The Fall? Any opinion there?
You know what? I watched it once. It was a long time ago, and I didn't love it. But just based on what people have said in the years since I've seen it, I feel like I'm due for a rewatch. I've never gotten around to it, but I feel like maybe I just wasn't in the right headspace or ready for it at the time. I think everybody always tells me like, oh, I know a movie you must love, and they bring it up, and I'm like, I don't know, it was fine. So I feel like I was missing something at the time. I need to revisit that one.
Yeah, I recommend it. It's one of those films where it's the story is very secondary to the visuals, and I found it quite fun because of you just feel this person constructing all these elaborate like visual paintings. It's good,
No, definitely. But like I said, like I feel like you have to be in the right headspace, because I will watch things 2-3 years after the fact, pressured by people, I don't know, online or whatever. And then I really understand the appeal. But if you're not in the mood, it's just not going to connect with you.
Yeah, I've put things on and just realized I was like, oh, I'm not in the right headspace for this. And then just put it off and then watched it later. It's like, That's why a lot of reviews and things, I just go, you got to take it with a grain of
Yeah.
salt because you don't know who this person is, or what kind of mood they were in, what kind of baggage
Oh
they were
yeah.
taking. Like
No,
you know,
it's something where I've gotten to the point where I have to, and maybe it's because I have little to no self-control. I have to put my phone in a separate room when I watch a movie. Because there are so many movies where I'm 20 minutes in, I look up from my phone and go, this is terrible. And I realize I'm not paying attention to anything that's
yeah,
happening right now.
yeah, I do that a lot. Well, in addition to the profession that brings Doug and I together, Doug, you're the co-host of Good Times, Great Movies, which is a podcast. Would you mind breaking down what that is?
Sure. I really hate to say it's a bad movie podcast because we cover some great movies. We cover things that we absolutely love. Like
Just
the
today, I heard one.
what did you listen to today?
It was Hider in the House.
Oh, Hider in the House. My
Yes,
God, a hidden gem, if
yes,
there ever was a hidden gem of a film. No, I think it's just my co-host and I having fun. We kind of kick around, take the piss out of movies, whether we love them or they end up being total garbage. So again, I don't call it a bad movie podcast, but we don't really get serious. We don't break down films in any serious manner whatsoever, but we have a ton of fun and we hope that people that listen are having fun along with us.
yeah. The thing I like about your podcast is that one, it's fun. I like levity. I like to hear people enjoying themselves. And two, it's not cruel. It's not a bad movie. When I hear bad movie podcast, I
Right.
think of the people that are just taking other people's hard work and making fun
Sure.
of it because it's been 30 years.
Yes. Oh no,
You
no,
know?
no. Yes, yes. I mean, there are times we are totally guilty of that. And I fully acknowledge that. But also, we try not to beat up the actors too much if they're not really given much to work with. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
we,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
try
yeah.
and hold people accountable, but also I think I try and separate myself from the fact that it was 30, almost 40 years ago,
Right.
40 plus for some of these movies, and
Mhm.
try and put myself in that time period. I mean, we just did recently, we did 16 Candles, and you hear about it all the time. You hear like it it's very problematic. And I
Yeah,
hate to approach a movie from that point of view, but boy, we watched that and it was so difficult to look past some of that.
sure.
But in the end, I think for my co-host, I think she had a harder time than I did. Because in the end, there was enough there for me to go, I get it. I get why people loved it at the time. And I also understand why people would still love it. But on the flip side, oh yuck. There's
Yeah.
there's some really horrible things happening here.
Yes, for sure. People can find all of that at goodtimesgreatmovies.com and podcasts wherever people podcast.
Great.
Awesome. We're brought together by Ghoulies 3. Ghoulies Go to College from 1991. I know this wasn't a first time watch for you, so what's your history with Ghoulies 3?
Hey, guess what? It's a total first time watch for me.
Oh, really?
If I told you it was otherwise, I don't know if I was in a fugue state or whatever.
You
I
didn't.
was
I just
excited.
assumed.
Oh, I was totally on board when you
Okay.
suggested it. Because when you asked me what I did, and I said, I was like, am I going to end up watching Wild Strawberries again or something like
No.
that? So when you suggested it, I was like, great, wonderful. Can't wait to watch it. I've seen the first two several times each.
Yes.
For some reason, growing up, 3 and 4, I don't know if it was that they were tough to find or why they escaped me for this long, or maybe I just kind of forgot about it
Yeah.
until you mentioned it. But the first Ghoulies, this is so dumb to say. Like Ghoulies is such a special movie to
Yeah.
me.
That's how I am with Critters too.
Oh, okay, great. Because growing up, my parents weren't strict. They were fine, but they would pay attention to ratings and they would
Hmm.
look at movies and realize they weren't for me. And on a whim, for whatever reason, one year my grandmother took me to the video store and I was just like, I think I can take advantage of this old woman right now. So I got Ghoulies and I got Predator. And she's like,
Whoa.
great, sounds fantastic. So, and I remember watching those as, I don't know, a 7, 8-year-old kid. I did not, and this is sacrilege, I did not enjoy Predator at all. I thought it was really dumb.
Mm.
I've since watched it again and I enjoy it. Ghoulies, I thought was amazing. Like, I thought that was the greatest film. I'm not even a huge fan of Ghoulies 2. I know a lot of people like it way more than the first one.
It's pretty
I
fun.
like the fact that the first one tries to be somewhat serious. Like,
Yeah.
it's not, it's not as silly as I guess these movies became after the first one.
Yep.
I adore the first one, and I have heard so many jokes made about Ghoulies 3, Ghoulies Go to College.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait to watch it. So this was very exciting for me.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Growing up in my dad's video store, Ghoulies 1 and 2 were visually awesome. The covers, of course, the ghoulie coming out of the toilet. It was on HBO and Showtime a lot, I think, in the evenings. And when this hit the shelves in 1991, I was ready for it. So, so a brief history, but I do forget some things about this that we'll talk about. At the time of this recording, you can find this everywhere, from YouTube to Amazon, VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, but I suggest you rent it from your local video store like Movie Madness right here in Portland, Oregon. The synopsis is a college teacher brings the little creatures back to his campus where they proceed to terrorize the faculty and the students.
That's a pretty accurate and also very broad synopsis of
Yes,
this movie.
I like that when they're just like, some stuff happens.
Right. Stuff happens. The ghoulies show up somehow, and they ghoulie it up. The end.
Yeah, it should just say, if you're reading this, you're gonna watch it.
Right.
I mean, our director is John Carl Buechler, a special effects man over at New World Pictures who worked on Trancers, From Beyond, Garbage Pail Kids, Demon Warp, Scanner Cop, Troll. He directed Friday the 13th Part 7, Cellar Dweller, and Watches 4, to name some of his accomplishments. Sadly, he passed away.
I adore Cellar Dweller. I think
that's
a great film. Again, another one that is underseen, but it's absolutely fantastic. And the creature effects in that are amazing.
I agree. When I did my episode with a comic book artist, that was one of the options I presented for them, and they politely declined. So
okay, all right, fair.
It's a rough trailer, but sure. I like the movie. I like the movie a lot. But since John passed away in 2019, before finishing his Frankenstein story, which was a movie that would star Kane Hodder, unfortunately is unfinished, I reached out to a previous guest who I'd like to think is a friend, special effects makeup artist Mark Shostrom, who was kind enough to share this. He says, John was a very nice man, very funny, very generous. He also did great obscene versions of movie characters, like if Jimmy Stewart was Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver, or Sean Connery as Al Pacino in Scarface. He said all the raunchiest, nastiest language from those movies, and being a cinephile, he knew the dialogue perfectly. Oh. He was absolutely hilarious. He gave a lot of makeup effects people their very first jobs. And while some people made fun of the quality of his work, he was legendary for giving people their first job, so much so that when he passed, the accolades in that respect that came out were quite moving and numerous. So as a New World Pictures fan, I had to ask what John brought Mark in on. And he continued, it was Forbidden World, followed by Android. He said he was still there working on something while John was doing Sorceress and Love Letters with Jamie Lee Curtis at the old New World Pictures Roger Corman makeup lab run by John at the Hammond Lumberyard in Venice, California. So thank you, Mark, for your time and your kind words. I appreciate knowing how many people John helped get started.
Wow, that's really great. And I wonder, I feel bad if I know Mark, but I don't know Mark, because when we did Forbidden World on my show, someone reached out and they said they worked on the visual effects team and it was their first job that they had. So I'm just wondering if it was him. So
it might have been Mark. He's super awesome and easily approachable, extremely talented. And he has a blog. I don't have it listed here, but I'll put it in the show notes, where he posts pictures of like the unused baby from Nightmare on Elm Street that he like constructed, and I think it was part 2. It's he's just an awesome person. And
that's awesome. That's great.
Our cinematographer is Roan Schmidt, who did Dead of Night, Beastmaster 2, Lord of Illusions, The Mist, tons of TV like Walking Dead and Chicago PD. Our editor is Adam Bernardi, who did Beastmaster 2, A League of Their Own, I Love Trouble, Meteor Man, Father of the Bride 2, and The Making of Kill Bill Volume 2. I love these people's careers.
Yeah, hearing this is just fantastic. So.
Yeah, because like most professions, you're like, well, I just worked on the same things, over and over. Probably not in your graphic design world, but for a lot of people, like, I don't know, a pediatrician or something, they're like, I don't know, I just did this medicine thing for a long time.
I guess I always feel like sometimes people behind the scenes get typecast as the actors do. This guy can do horror, this person does comedy, so they just keep doing these things again and again, and that's never the case.
Yeah, Although I will say Beastmaster 2, Portal Through Time, and A League of Their Own, basically the same storyline. Our stars, I got to start off with Kevin McCarthy as Professor Ragnar. 204 credits, started in 1944, but I know him mostly from the TV movie The Midnight Hour, Inner Space, UHF, of course, Murder, She Wrote, and Tales from the Crypt. I mean,
right.
He's so great. You see his face and you're just like, that's that guy.
Did you leave off Invasion of the Body Snatchers
on
purpose? Okay, all right. Okay.
Sometimes I like to troll the listeners just to see if anyone's paying attention. Right. I forget which one I did earlier, but there was one where I just didn't list any credits, and this person has like so many. And yeah,
great. Yeah, you were like Tom Hanks. I don't know, Bachelor Party. That was it.
He did Turner and Hooch, I think. Evan McKenzie plays Skip. He was in Children of the Night, Scanner Cop 2, and a bunch of TV. Patrick Labiorto, who we all recognize as Mookie, I think in this movie, he's in Heathers, Summer School, Ski School, Three Ninjas, and he's still going strong today.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that just pops up in stuff. And I'm like, yeah. I know that guy. Same with the campus security dude. Like, I know him as the guy who redid Seinfeld's kitchen in Seinfeld.
That's like, one episode.
One episode. But every time I see him and stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, that's that guy from Seinfeld.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Patrick, every time I see him, I think of the dad in Heathers saying, I love my dead gay son.
Yep, fantastic.
Yeah. We also have Marshall Wallace, who was Edna Crabapple in The Simpsons, tons of TV. She's in Teen Witch, which we covered previously. Lastly, I just wanted to acknowledge the Ghoulies voices, because this is the first movie where the Ghoulies talk. And in this type of party animal movie, I would expect for the budget, they wouldn't have such talent doing the voices, but Fish is Patrick Penny, who has 115 credits, including he's on SpongeBob SquarePants, Trolls and the Beat Goes On, Robot Chicken, Bob the Builder, and like obviously much more. The rat is Bob Bergen from Star Wars The Bad Batch, New Looney Tunes, Robot Chicken, Inside Out, Wreck-It Ralph, and much more. And the cat is Richard Kind.
Okay.
Who has 256 credits. He did Summer Camp Island, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Mad About You, Law and Order SVU, Inside Out, A Bug's Life, and on and on. The second the cat talks, I'm always like, is that Richard Kind? And it is.
That's amazing. I am so glad that the name Frank Welker did not come out of your mouth, because anyone that can take work from that guy, I applaud you, because I assume he is just on everyone's doorstep in Hollywood. He must have 800 plus credits to his name.
Yeah, I think he had the flu the week they shot.
Yeah, I was going to say, I 100%, I would have put down good money that you were going to say his name.
So let's press play on Ghoulies 3. We start with a whimsical, spooky tune as we see a wonderful miniature, and man, I love miniatures in these films. Like, the second you show me one, I'm like, I don't even care what happens. I just want to see the camera spin around this tiny house.
Yep. Doesn't matter that I know it's a miniature. The moment I see it, I'm fascinated by that. Like, because it feels so tactile. Like you can feel the people making this, and it just, I don't want to say it's nostalgic, because even if somebody did that now, I think I'd be super excited to see it. But it's just wonderful. It makes me happy.
I agree. I would still love it. And inside, a man is reading from a ghoulish comic book, and we see a toilet. I'm pretty sure this comic book is only in this movie, right?
Yes.
It's not in 1 and 2.
I'm so confused. Like, I know, just because I guess I've seen one so many times, how the Ghoulies come to our, I don't know, dimension. I don't even know where they're from.
I think so.
Never through a comic book. I don't know how it happens in 2. I forget. But there's no way that this comic book exists in 1, 2, and I'm going to bet 4.
Right. I know there's 4. You know, here's a weird thing to admit. I love Ghoulies 1, 2, and 3. I only own 4.
What?
I know. It doesn't make sense. I was looking through all the shelves, and I'm like, where is Ghoulies 3? And then I just saw Ghoulies 4, and I was like, what is wrong with me?
I have to say, I am shocked, and I will speak directly to, I don't know, Scream Factory now. Why is this not out? Like, how? You put out all those Critters movies. Yep. Most of those are terrible. Like, just do this. Or, I don't know, Arrow put out the House box set. After you get beyond House, you can get somewhat into 2 before it becomes terrible. Like, that's unwatchable. Please, somebody put out all these Ghoulies movies.
I agree. I want them, and I want it in a toilet with the ghoulie coming out. Just pull the discs out the back or something.
Yep. Sure. That's the one goofy packaging thing I would buy. I don't own anything that stupid. I would totally buy that.
Yeah, I only own one, and that's the Phantasm collection that's in the ball. Because
that's fine. It's still a box.
I love Phantasm so much.
It's not a human head, or like when you see weird things where it's just a bust. Like I'm like, I don't understand. Yeah. I think they have Harry Potter coming out, and it's a big train. Like, why would that's? How am I going to put that on a shelf?
Right. It's going to take up a lot of space. Right. Suddenly, the three main ghoulies burst through a window, and they talk. And we get some slapstick, and then something happens, and the comic falls to the floor. I love this opening. It's very Tales of the Dark Side. It's very of its time. I love that the people making this were involved in those types of things. It just feels like you're in good hands because these people know what they're doing. Like they're making something that tonally is going to be so 80s, even though it's not the 80s, and it's going to have party vibes, and we're going to get some shenanigans. And I'm like, all right, let's do it.
I have a question about the size of the Ghoulies, because they're considerably larger than they are in the other movies too, which is a little bit off-putting. Like I am used to those, I don't know, a foot high, maybe a foot and a half. At times these things seem to be 3 foot tall, and it's just so bizarre.
There's a lot of things that change size in the film.
Oh, no, definitely.
So maybe it's just part of the Ghouliverse that they were fleshing out at the time.
When they're able to wear the clothes of 20-year-old college students, I was like, how is this even happening right now?
Oh, yeah. We talk. It's amazing. Even wilder music happens during the credits, and they play a prank on a janitor who is mopping the stairs outside. And his bucket goes down the stairs. He racks his nards on a rail and Kane Hodder falls into the bucket and collides with another man. A book hits a guy in the face that smashes into a sundae. In case you didn't know what fun vibes this party movie's going for, that's amazing.
Just that whole idea of mopping outside. I was like, what a dumb way to just get to the goofiest joke in this movie. I did not know that was Kane Hodder, honestly.
Yeah. You see him from the back,
wonderful,
right behind, and I was just like, I just go, is that young Kane Hodder? And it is.
That's so great. I have no idea.
It's so awesome. Back in the bathroom, a stoner who's played by Billy Morset from Pump Up the Volume, whose sister is Alanis Morset, kicks a hole in a wall very easily, and a ghoulish comic is there. He reads from it and calls the Ghoulies. Almost. A frat has rigged all the fountains to spray people's crotches, and a bench can eject people.
There's just no comparing a gamma yank with a beta zeta theta yank. Would a gamma have the cunning to drill and repipe every campus water fountain? Or would a gamma psi, could a gamma psi ever conceive of rigging an ejector bench?
Kid Carter, you are a yanking god.
It's amazing.
The college prankiness of this is just so of its time. It's almost like somebody just watched, I don't know, all of the Revenge of the Nerds movies and we're like, I could do much better than this. Like I could just ramp this up 1,000%, and 8 years later.
Yeah, they're like, what happens in college? And like, I think it's pranks and or yanks. But we'll just cover it by including both yanks
the
and
amount
pranks.
Of times they say yanks, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. I don't know if it's supposed to be dirty. It just sounds stupid.
Are we pranking or yanking, everybody? We got to just choose a lane. That's amazing. We see Professor Ragnar approach. As a professor, when you're on campus, do you feel everyone is watching you?
Oh, all the time. Yeah, all eyes are on me. Right. I'm basically a celebrity. It's crazy.
Lots of you just have to high five all through the campus.
Yeah, if there's anyone on a college campus that fades into the background, it's anyone over the age of 22. Yeah. Like nobody's going to notice that you're there or care about you whatsoever.
Excellent. We learned there's a prank war between the two frats. There are pranks and yanks, and I wrote, I have no idea what the difference between these two things are.
They use the term, and I thought it was interchangeable, but perhaps they are referring to two different things.
I think there's like one part where they're like, hey, man, this isn't time for yanking. This is pranking. And I'm like, wait a second. What?
Yeah. I think he says that in the classroom at one point. He's like, listen, I may pull pranks, but I don't pull yanks. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
No
I'm sorry. I don't know. Can I curse on your show? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I don't need the backstory of the Ghoulies, but could you tell me what yanks are, please?
Yes. I'm willing to buy that a comic book written in, I don't know, 1812, who knows when this is written, can bring monsters to life.
Absolutely.
But I don't understand what's happening at this college campus for the most part.
Yeah, this universe where yanking happens is just not that's not realistic. Jeremy shows up the way Skip talks to Aaron, and then Jeremy shows up, and the way they use each other's names is so weird. It's like the script is like, hello, Aaron. Hello, Skip. Oh, here is Jeremy. Jeremy, you know Skip. Yes, thank you, Aaron. Like, it's just like, wait, what? They really need us to know these names, which was helpful because sometimes when I'm doing show notes, I'm like, oh, I don't know what that character's name is at all.
Very helpful because there are no other characteristics that can differentiate one character from another.
Yes. Professor Ragnar enters the classroom and it's total chaos, and he has to take back control.
This is an institution of learning.
As a college professor, how do you control the audience in the classroom?
I just start talking. It's pretty easy.
Oh.
Like, movies would have you believe that it is difficult. Oh, they're so rambunctious and you have to yell and slam your desk or anything. No, they all know what time class starts. And when I start talking, they kind of shut up and look forward.
Right. So no one's burning like toilet paper rolls or any of that sort of thing.
No. To be honest, if that ever did happen, I have no idea how I would react.
That's fair. You could just read from the comic and be like, you're all fucked now.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Ragnar catches the stoner reading the comic, so he takes it and reads from it. Next, we get a party. There's drinking.
Which can I just stop you for 1 second? Like, it seems like in movies when a teacher sees students passing a note and they open it and they read from it to embarrass the person.
Yep.
Reading from this comic does nothing but forward the plot of this movie.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why he does it. It doesn't make any sense in that moment other than to, again, bring the Ghoulies into our reality.
Well, that's it. That's the whole point.
Right.
That's the plot point. Next, we get a party. There's drinking, innuendos, all the great stuff that you need at this point. Because also this movie just chugs along. There's no wasted time. There's no like slow parts. It's just like this happens, this happens, this happens. Yank, prank, just one after another.
Everywhere. This is one of the movies where I sat and I wondered, do these people ever go to sleep? Like, do they?
No.
At one point they're out pulling yanks or pranks or whatever.
Yep.
It's the next day they walk into their house and like, that was awesome, all those yanks and pranks. Can't wait to go to class later. It was like, how much time is passing? What's going on right now?
There's no way of knowing. We see the professor grading and he's just really enjoying it. Do you enjoy grading?
Nope. It's the worst part of my job and any teacher's job. I could guarantee you that.
I always noticed in college when teachers would have students grade for them. And actually, I did that for 2 film classes where they would give me the thing and then I would go through and like circle the letters or whatever.
See, first of all, and I'm not on this podcast to drag other professors. If you're not grading, what are you doing? What are you spending your time doing? Like, I just, if I'm not grading, I'm doing nothing. Like, I kind of have everything planned. I know what I'm going to do day in, day out. Grading is kind of the only job, I'm using air quotes as though people can see me, job part of my job. The rest is standing up, telling terrible jokes, hoping that my students will crack a smile.
That's good. I like that you use humor because that's what always kept me involved in a classroom. Like the drier the information, the less I could pay attention.
No, terrible.
Yeah. We don't get much backstory of his history or why he's an educator, but we also don't know yours. So where did this all begin for you?
Oh, well, upon graduation as an undergrad, I went out into the workforce and I got a job as a graphic designer at a design studio. And I worked there for 8+ years, sort of working through the ranks. I got to the position of art director. And by that time, I wasn't designing anymore. I was sitting in my office. I was on the phone with clients. I was in meetings. It was horrible. I understand that the 9 to 5 office work is for some people. That was the worst job I've ever had. Like,
Yeah.
I waited tables in college. I would have much rather done that. I painted houses. I would have much rather done that than that office job. And it really was that point. I was like, I'm not going to go back to school. I'm not going to start over. I enjoy design. Where can I do that where I don't have to deal with people my own age? Because old people are horrible and they're so jaded and they're awful. And how can I apply what I know day to day, have a different schedule every semester? Like, it made sense for me to get into education. So I had to go back, I had to get my master's, but yeah, I knew what I wanted to do. And it was honestly the best career decision of my life. I love teaching. It's so much fun. I love hanging around a bunch of, it's just going to sound weird and pervy, a bunch of 18, 19-year-old students. Like, they have such optimism. They have their whole lives ahead of them. And I love talking to them and dealing with them, more so the people that I work with. So.
That's excellent. Yeah, that's refreshing too for someone that enjoys films, because there is a lot of things where older people are always like, these young kids don't know about movies, and it's like, well,
I hate it. If I ever hear somebody use the term millennial as a pejorative, I instantly detest that person.
Yeah, not a fan. Back at the party, we see a slight continuity error as a guy stacks pizza slices, and then when it cuts back to him, he's gonna stack the pizza slices again.
Yep, because
it's so interesting. So your eyes are drawn right to it, and it's probably a lack of coverage for that, but it's pretty fascinating. He's gonna eat all the pieces of pizza in one bite because he's of weight, and this is just barely out of the 80s. So it's a common joke, but
like you said, there's a stoner, kind of, I guess. There's a guy who really loves music, and then there's the chubby guy who eats pizza, and the rest of them, I'm like, I don't know. These are all white guys that are roughly the same height. I can't tell one apart.
They're all so much the same that I forgot to even mention that when Professor Ragnar shows up after getting the water balloon to the back of the head, and he's standing on the steps, Matthew Lillard is standing right next to him in his first film, and like, most of the time people watch it, they're just like, yep, just 5 white guys standing there. It's like, that's Matthew Lillard. Like,
yep, I am so glad you said that, because I was going to ask you where he was, because the whole time I knew he was in the movie.
Yes.
I could not pick him out.
So if you go
so quick.
If you rewatch the that beginning opening scene, there's
I'll rewatch it. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, there's 2 shots, I think. One of them, he just kind of blends in because he's really young, and then another shot, he's making a face that's like, it's like a Matthew Lillard expression that you would see in Scream or something. It's like, it's still there. It's like the very beginning. And it's pretty awesome.
It's so great you said that, because most of the time I watched this movie was me going, is that Matthew Lillard?
Is that Matthew Lillard? Is he the pizza? Which character is he?
So distracting.
Is he fish, rat, or cat? Which one is he? Suddenly a knock at the door, and it's Officer Barkus, played by Stephen Lee, who you mentioned earlier, who is in War Games, The Negotiator, RoboCop 2, and my favorite, Dolls. Have you seen Dolls?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yes, he's
so great.
He's that dad in there, and so every time I see him, that's where my brain goes. It goes, oh man, it's almost October, and I'm going to watch Dolls again. He says he wears medical women's underwear, and that's something that's never mentioned or brought up again.
It's not mentioned. One of my favorite scenes of this movie is when he is talking to, I'm going to say the girl, because I don't know character names, but
Aaron.
when he's talking about the panty raid that's coming up, it's just like, the best thing would just be to give me all of your panties, and I'll protect them, and I can give them back to you on Sunday, maybe Monday. I'll have them back to you on Wednesday at the latest. And I love that. It's really great. It's a wonderful scene and great line delivery.
I agree. He's very funny. He does a lot with the role, which I think is awesome.
Yes.
They put a blow-up doll in a security golf cart, and it drives away. Ragnar discovers that the comic has a history of real evil, and then we see the stoner Wes is having sex in 1 million positions. This is, very of the time jokey joke.
I was shocked by the amount of nudity in Ghoulies 3.
Yeah.
When I started and I was like, rated R, what? Really? A Ghoulies movie? But very quickly I was like, oh, okay, I get this now.
Yeah. I'm really glad they did go the way they went. I think all of John's decisions are pretty fascinating. Knowing his sense of humor, like Mark told us about, I think that it kind of, you realize like, oh man, and what a gleeful thing for him to do, being that he designed the Ghoulies for the first film. And so now to like give them these like horny, dirty goblin attitudes, like.
At every turn I was like, do the Ghoulies know what beer is? Do the Ghoulies know what sex is? They seem to understand everything.
I mean, to quote Monster Squad, Wolfman's got nards, but do the Ghoulies? I don't know. Perhaps that's the bigger question we all need to be asking.
I would doubt it, but I don't know. That one's got a lot of hair on his body. I can't tell.
It's really hard to tell. That's very true. One of my favorite sequences is right here where Skip tries to help a topless woman who has a mounted deer head stuck on her. But Aaron walks in and says, I didn't know this was a stag party, to which he says she had too much alcohol.
It's very good. Great.
In case you can't tell.
Into Ghoulies 3 is leaning into everything. And I'm on board with this.
100%. That kind of joke that it just flies under the radar, but I was like, nope, that's made for me.
Yep.
That's one. I'll be saying that.
That's the kind of joke where you're like, maybe I should rewind that and turn on closed caption.
Right. Yes. Ragnar rereads from the comic the full canonization, and what happens? Well, they show up.
Wraiths of spirit, grotesque in form, rudely summoned to be born, wake to this mage's call. Anubis, Io, Copula, water bubbles, vessel breaks, the earthly fowl in turmoil shakes. Traverse gateway, come in haste, through porcelain place of earthly waste. Argo, petal, spirits rear, I now command you to appear.
What a dump!
Ow. Hey! Ow! Hold on, I'm coming. Oh, God.
Oh,
I gotta start a
no.
robicide.
Not him again.
I'm coming. I'm up. I'm almost through. Here I am. I'm here. Ow!
Why can't I get union help?
I can't tell what his hours are here as an educator, but typically what's your workload like?
Well, normally it's really fun because what administration once is for faculty teachers to either teach morning classes or afternoon classes. Nobody wants to do that. Everybody wants to teach in the middle of the day. Guys, being a professor is the easiest. Like, it's so easy. I hate to say that, but I work with these people who have done nothing but teach, and they complain all the time about it. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, this is the greatest job ever. So you either have to do some morning classes or some afternoon classes. I have young kids. I got to put them on the bus. So I do afternoon classes. I go in around 10. My first class starts at 10:30. And my last class ends around 5. I do teach a night class. But as far as like office hours and everything, I build them in throughout the day, all of that. I have never, as this guy appears to be, lived in my office. He's there all the time. I'm not sure he has a home. I don't think know.
He does. I think Ragnar's homeless.
Yes.
That's a good point. Well, I feel like all parties involved deserve a break, so we'll be right back after this. Oh hey, I was just deciding what to make for dinner tomorrow. How does maitake tacos with a porcini mushroom dipping broth sound? Or savory green chili corn cakes with an arugula salad? Well, how about roasted root vegetables with a habanero béarnaise sauce? Nah, I think I might go with a baked gnocchi and a carrot top pesto, but no matter which I choose, these and much more can be found at marshallshotsauce.com. That's right, the same place you'll find sauces like smoked habanero barbecue, serrano ginger lemongrass, red chili lime, and habanero carrot curry, to name a few. You will also find many creative, delicious recipes on how you can cook with each sauce. And every recipe is made with minimal ingredients and simple techniques written by Sarah Marshall, who also makes and bottles each bottle of Marshall's hot sauce. Plus, she just launched a new line of spice blends. The barbecue rub, by the way, is amazing, and the taco seasoning will melt off your face. Plus, her new edition of her cookbook, Canning Guide Preservation Pantry, is out now. Look, if you want to make your own awesome hot sauce and pickles and more, pick up Preservation Pantry. So head on over to Marshall's Hot Sauce, that's Marshall's, HAUTE sauce.com, and at checkout, enter VHS Podcast for 20% off. That's right, 20% off just by entering VHUS Podcast, one word, at checkout. Okay, back to the show. And we're back! The party ends because everyone wants to go prank. That's how all good parties end. Wesley and the girl are there with the Ghoulies, who ogle her undercarriage for so long making weird jokes when suddenly Ragnar reads and they appear before their Dark Master. He freaks out and wishes them away. And then Wes hears them and investigates the frat bathroom, which has the strangest toilets I've ever seen. Fish grabs him out of the toilet and suddenly they're all there and Wesley gets flushed down the toilet. I love the gags in this movie.
It's fantastic. And the hard cut to, oh no, here's Ghoulies. Suddenly his leg is above his head. He's jammed in the toilet. He's not dead at this point. His body appears to be ripped in half and he's still looking around and talking.
So good. I would have loved to see just the filming of that, just the moments before and after with the actor in the toilet.
It's amazing. The other thing, and you went by it real quick, but I do want to point it out.
Oh, yes.
I love how at this college party, and I've been to, not as a teacher, because that would be more creepy.
Right.
But I've been to plenty of college parties when I was in school. There is no way at the end of a college party you're ready to go prank. Most of the time you are hammered. Like these college parties wind down and devolve into people like vomiting outside and everything. It's never like, you know what we need now that we've been partying for 6 hours? We got to go yank or prank or whatever. That's not the way this works.
I know. It's so weird. They just also go, let's go prank. And they just leave. And I was like, okay, in this world, this is what happens.
Those toilets. And I also love about Ghoulies 3 that they lean so heavily into the toilet thing. Yeah. It's such a minor thing. It's just a scene of the, I don't know, do the Ghoulies have names? Whatever the bald green one is. Like
that's Fish.
Okay. He pops out of the toilet in the original Ghoulies. And then they have to do this scene in Ghoulies 2 where he, I don't know, murders the guy in the toilet off screen.
Yeah.
And in this one, it's like, you know what these Ghoulies love? Toilets. They love it. It's the greatest thing. This movie is just toilets for like the first half of it.
Yeah, I think because when the first one came out, they did that poster for which doesn't happen in the film where he's wearing that shirt and everything. And I think John was so sick of that he was just like, they want toilets, they'll get toilets. I think that's what
give
happened.
Them the most gothic looking toilet I've ever seen.
Which, like, it means that the toilet and the comic book have to be in the same place for the Ghoulies to appear. Is that how it works?
I assume the comic was made by the person that crafted that toilet.
It's like half a comic and half a toilet manual. Is basically, they're like, it's not flushing. Like, get the comic, but read it very carefully. Ghoulies will be everywhere. The Ghoulies open a closet and a box of clothes fall on them, and suddenly they're all dressed in clothes that fit their tiny ghoulie bodies, which is what we mentioned earlier. I think it's the funniest thing because, like, and this is why I'm not a huge fan of bad movie podcasts. They would see this and be like, this is stupid. There is no way that it's an accident that this fell on them and they're wearing these tiny clothes. Right. They had to make these tiny clothes. These people were all in on the joke on how crazy this is. Like, and it's hilarious. It's so funny.
The fact that anybody would say it was stupid, yes, it's stupid. I get it, but this is stuff you would see on sitcoms. And why would you be on board with the sitcom and you're like, wait a second, Ghoulies can't wear clothes?
Yeah, it's like, it's so funny. And their clothes even have like kind of like an attitude for each character. It's
one has a tie. Like I love that just fell, and this wonderful tie is just on him. It's really great. And also, I think this is when I think the Ghoulies don't know what else to do, so they just decide to destroy things and drink beer.
They drink beer. They drink a lot of beer, and we get all these shots of
1,000 plus beers, the frat guy's saying. I'm like, where were you storing that much beer?
Yes. And I love this part too, because they only had one cut for the cans falling, and it's when they're empty. So when they open the fridge and grab one can of beer out of the middle and the cans fall on the Ghoulies, they're all empty. Like you can see the cans are completely, and it's the same shot later on. And I just love like when you notice that you're like, I'm guessing they're making the movie and they're like, did we shoot the, we just used the empty cans.
You can't have hundreds of full beer cans fall on one of those puppets. You'd destroy that thing.
It'd be dead. The puppeteer, how'd he die? Well, he was crushed by 1,000 cans of beer.
Well, only his arm was crushed, but there were complications in surgery.
Right, his shoulder, tennis is over. Rat drinks Drano and his ears smoke. I was just like, yep, I'm here for this. Love it.
Why not? Let's do it.
And next, the Ghoulies get into prank week, which is why we shouldn't let them have all the fun. So let's play a game, shall we?
Oh, I love games. Yes,
okay,
let's do it.
Great. This is Real Professor or Professor of a Film. There are 5. Number 1.
There's no way I'm going to get these. Okay, go ahead.
That's okay. At least you didn't have to play the last one, which was Eric Roberts movie or Danielle Steele novel, which I think it's an impossible game. But
wow. Okay. Is that episode out yet?
That's in the book one. Yep. Just came out.
Okay, great. I can't wait to check it out.
Yeah, it's fun.
Right.
Okay, number 1. Professor Turgeson.
That's got to be fake.
It's a professor in a film that is played by Sam Kinison in the movie Back to School.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. I was like, if I know the name, it's probably from a film.
Next,
that's going to be the tip off here.
Yeah.
Unless you say Einstein, I don't know that I know real professors.
I didn't go with Einstein. Number 2, Professor Dave Jennings.
That sounds boring enough to be a human being that exists.
Close, but no, it is Donald Sutherland in Animal House. Professor Dave Jennings. I didn't know he had a name. 3rd, here we go. Professor Joseph Wang.
That sounds funny. I think you're trying to trick me here, so I'm going to go real professor.
You're correct. He's real. He invented intelligent underwear, which have a sensor in the waistband that can measure your vital signs. And I'm not sure why it had to be underwear, because I think an Apple Watch can do that.
Wait a second. Hold on. A guy named Wang invented intelligent underwear. I love that. That's fantastic.
And I think the U.S. military bought like the patent to it or whatever. You can look it up online.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Number 4, Dr. Henry Walton.
That's a film professor.
Yes, it's Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones.
Holy shit. What? Wait, how did I not know that? Okay.
I didn't know. I thought his name was Indiana Jones.
So did I. I was like, wait, isn't it Dr. Jones?
No, it's apparently Henry Walton. I don't know. It's very strange.
Yeah, I mean, I know his name's Henry. Yeah, okay. Wow. All right.
Yeah. And last, but not least, of course, Julius F. Kelp.
That's got to be fake.
Yeah, it's Jerry Lewis and the Nutty Professor.
Okay, all right.
I only found one actual professor that wasn't a boring thing, really.
No, that's all right.
Most of them, I was like, oh no, this is so crap. I don't know.
All right, I appreciate that. That's awesome.
Yeah. When I did the museum episode, it was all fake. All real musicians.
Oh no! Yeah, I couldn't find any to that one. Every one, I was like, well, that's fake. Nope, they're all real.
All real. The world is a weird place, man. Back on campus, Skip and the boys return, and they think they've been pranked, but it's just the Ghoulies. Their whole place is completely destroyed. It's not even a prank. That's just destruction of property.
Yes, they're so angry about this, and they're. I guess they want to blame the one guy who's dead in a toilet.
Yep.
But then they see his room's destroyed, but still feel like they need to blame him for this,
right?
Because he didn't stop this from happening.
It's so weird. Skip visits Ronnie, the girl who was with Wes, and Aaron walks in again. Everyone starts to see that the pranks are happening, but that they didn't do it. Dun, dun, dun.
Did you get the feeling from this that this was a script that was written without Ghoulies and they were just inserted at some point later? Like this could have been something about a college slasher and these dumb kids pulling pranks and stuff, and it was just repurposed and we'll put in ghoulies and have these weird kills. Because the thing I don't understand in this movie is why the ghoulies are killing people. I have no idea.
Oh, I don't know. It's a great question. I bet this was a college script first.
Mhm.
And then they were just like, well, what can we do? Can we get Kane Hodder? Okay. So we got someone for the bucket.
I'm not saying the kills aren't great. That plunger kill is one of the best things I've
Yes.
ever seen.
Yeah.
But it just felt like, why did the ghoulies just murder that woman they appeared to want to just have sex with? Like I say, I don't know what's going on.
You know, I think 4 might shed some light on the.
Oh, okay. All right. We got to follow this up.
There we go. Ragnar calls the ghoulies and spills the beans.
Oh, this guy again. Who do you think you are, huh?
I'm Ragnar.
Ragass. Professor Ragnar? What a dwarf. You're really starting to get on our nerves.
Yeah, let's get him, boss.
Just as I thought. Yes, my little friends. You and the book are one. I can destroy you so easily. You see, I've been reading up on you. Get one thing straight. I am the master. And you will do as
I say, geez, what a ball buster.
Next, Ragnar wants the pranking crown. So as a professor, are there any crowns that you're currently desiring? That was a hard question to say with a straight face.
I am not aware of any crowns on campus that any fraternities have. I mean, I will say there's a chance I would hear of one that I would want, but as of right now, I don't know of any.
Right. Now that you know, this is how real college kids are talking. In your class, you can be like, hey, any of you young kids know any crowns getting yanked? Anyone yanking crowns in here?
And the fact that the crown just looks like one of those old beanies that people wear, like, it looks ridiculous.
The first time I saw it, I was like, that is a terrible hat. And then later on, they're like, the crown. And I'm like, what? That's the crown? Okay. That is a prank. The biggest prank is the crown, I think.
Yeah, pretty much.
The ghoulies steal a golf cart, and we get more jokes about chili fries, which I was like, yep, this is really close to the 80s. Jeremy discovers that the ghoulies stole the crown, so they head to the, I wrote chem lab. Is that right?
I think so.
Oh,
that's
right.
what I would say.
Okay.
I'm not, places are ill-defined in this movie.
Okay.
If we're not at a frat house or a classroom,
Yes.
I don't know where we are.
Right.
I mean, we're at the library in the end, I guess.
So they tell us that.
Right.
The ghoulies return with the crown. He tries to get them to kill him. Oh, I'm talking about Ragnar tries to get the ghoulies to kill him, but Marsha Wallace enters because she's allergic to cats, and one of them is a cat.
Yes.
Miss Boggs is her name, and this is the great tongue gag. I love this tongue gag. I'm not sure what's happening with it, but it's really cool.
No, it's really just, hey, you know what was great about that first movie when that woman shot her tongue out and strangled that dude? Can we kind of do something like that again? Yeah, let's just have more fun with it, honestly. Yeah.
Guys, we got more toilets. Let's go more tongue.
Why does Kevin McCarthy ask these things to kill him and then at every turn be like, ha ha ha, I have the comic book, you can't kill me. Hold on, let me lock it up. Now kill me. I don't know what his motivation is here.
Well, I think when he locked it up, he was, I don't know, I think he's testing his power.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he knows he can control them, and then I think that's what's happening.
All right. I honestly didn't know what was going on.
Well, I also just thought, if they kill him, at this point, he becomes like king of the ghoulies in the spectral realm.
Okay, good. I'm glad you said that, because at one point he was just like, you know what happens, right? If you kill me, I take on all your powers. I'm like, where are you getting this information from? I guess the research book about the comic book.
Right. The manual on the manual.
Okay. All right, great. I love it. I love it so much.
Yes.
And Marsha Wallace, again, R.I.P. Marsha Wallace. Seriously. So sad. But she's so great in the limited role that she has. She's wonderful in this movie.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think those roles, I mean, those two are like, they could be in anything, and I absolutely love it. I think she was in Newhart, and I thought she was amazing. Yeah, but
I could just watch a movie about this wacky professor and his, I don't know,
Yes.
receptionist. I'm not sure what her job is.
Yeah. I mean, imagine the other horrible classes that he had. I mean, just give me Ragnar. Like,
Yep.
Ragnar
He's
goes
living
back to
out of his
school.
office. She has to bring him beans in a can just so he
Yes.
doesn't die.
Oh, man. The sorority is going to try and stop the panty raid, but does a striptease, and the ghoulies watch because they're so horny.
That's why I was like, when the guys try and steal the panty and the girls put out the laundry basket
Yes.
full of them. And
Yeah.
I was like, wait, this is a trap so they can hit them with pillows and also take off all their clothes. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is what these guys want.
Yeah.
And the guys are like, we need to get out of here.
Yes.
I don't think this is the way it works.
I wrote, the guys break into the laundry room to steal panties and get attacked by the ladies in their underwear, who are also topless.
Oh, yeah. It is a hard cut to they have shirts on. They do not have tops on anymore.
Right. And they're clubbing the guys with pillows, which is that like naked girl pillow fight that,
Right.
you know,
Feathers
the rumor.
everywhere.
Yeah. The
Yep.
guys would be like, what do girls do at sleepovers? It's like, it's this. But it's such a strange attack because the guys you think would just be like, okay. But instead they're like, we got to get a run from
There's like
these
army crawling out of
girls."
here. Right.
Yeah, which is a lot, but not quite as much as when the ghoulies next enter a women's shower, which it hasn't been that long. And they're just like, we should probably show more boobs. Like,
Boys, I think I'm gonna have to numb these. Nom, 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 nom. Oh, nice berries.
Oh, I'm sporty camp and chubby.
Oh, nicer derriere. Splash your mouth, that was so cool. Uh-oh.
Yeah, right. It's been at least 22 seconds and they need to show more boobs. And this women's shower area where the one girl does sort of like a striptease, teasing the ghoulies or whoever she thinks is spying on her.
Yeah.
But legitimately is like, well, I guess I got to get a shower right now. I mean,
Yeah.
She doesn't, it's
Might
not
as
like
well.
she's trying to tempt some dude to come in and have shower sex with her because there's two other women in the showers on either side of her.
Yes. And one of them is murdered with a toilet plunger, as we mentioned earlier. It's a great effect. It's very Looney Tunes. It's so in the pocket with these ghoulies that talk and say horny things all the time.
Yeah. It's one of those things that if you have not seen Ghoulies 3, you've seen this.
Right.
Like you've seen this GIF or something. Like, because I was even like, I've seen this 1,000 times and had no idea what movie it was from.
You're like, Roger Rabbit is different than I remember it. Do you agree with Professor Ragnar when he says evil is power?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
Jeff Bezos, whatever.
Yeah.
his
Oh, there
name
you
is.
go.
Who cares? Why not?
That's probably
I
where he
mean,
got his.
if you're going to put generic lines in your movie, great, go for
Yeah.
it. I think it works.
Skip gets framed by Jeremy and everything's falling apart. I wrote here, by now maybe he can explain the difference between yanks and pranks, but I think it's safe to say we still don't know.
Is this when they're in the classroom talking about it after his desk explodes or whatever? Because I was really, at that moment, I was like, now we're going to get to the bottom of yanks and pranks, and they never explain it.
Yeah. Oh, man. Skip and Mookie have a falling out, but Ragnar has other plans.
Kill him. Kill Skip Carter. Kill Skip Carter.
Skip Carter. Kill Skip Carter.
He is a danger.
He is a danger.
Aaron and Skip make up, and the ghoulies are hot on their trail. A random guy enters the kitchen with a bomb and gets a skillet to the face and drops the bomb, Acme style, which blows up Bonnie, the officer's golf cart.
Yeah, the guy who gets a skillet to the face. There was
It's got
something
two
with the
fried
ghoulies-
eggs
It's
and
got
bacon in the skillet. You barely see it. When I saw it, I was just like, what?
You barely see it. And I was like, well, where's the gag where they hit him? And then it is on his eyes and his mouth. I was like, it's right there, guys.
They
Come on.
must have ran out of time, I think.
I
Because why would
guarantee
they
you
make the prop?
Right. Yes. I guarantee you they filmed it. Something went wrong. They couldn't use it because it's it's right there.
They're like, let's get that insert. I had the lens cap on. Jeremy.
I had the lens cap on. We're out of time. Sorry.
You had two shots. You had full beer cans falling off the ghoulies, and you had this frying pan face.
I told you that first one was dangerous.
Yeah. Skip and Aaron find Miss Boggs dead, strangled with her tongue, and the crown's on her head. So she really got yanked. That tongue got yanked or pranked again. Jeremy and his cronies find them, and Aaron tries to report about the murder, but Ragnar intervenes, and Jeremy and his dudes are going to frame Skip for blowing up the school, but Skip beats him to the chase.
They threaten to murder him.
Yes,
They're
they
like,
do.
We're gonna
This is escalated.
kill you right now.
Yes. Next, we get Ragnar's finale as Skip sprays the creatures with glue, and Skip saves Aaron from a falling chandelier.
I just have a quick question about the glue. Is there a scene where we see him filling the water guns with glue? Because
No.
I didn't. Okay, great. They are freaking out at this. I'm like, is this holy water? Are they some sort of demonic being?
Yeah, he gets the glue, and then he's just able to spray it all over that, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Skip gets the comic and then sets the ghoulies on Ragnar, who turns into a pool of goo.
Yep.
But once Skip and Aaron return, Jeremy shows up, the wall blows out, and it's crazy Ragnar with a ghoulie belly, and it's so rad. I love
super awesome.
This crazy ghoulie face on his belly. I would have loved to hear what Kevin McCarthy thought about the application.
Yep.
It's awesome.
I wasn't, a movie called Ghoulies 3. I am not expecting to be surprised.
No.
I was really surprised by that. I know it seemed like such a downer ending, just the pool of just bubbling goo, but I was like,
accept it.
Yeah, I was like, all right, it's Ghoulies 3. Maybe this is how it ends. I was so surprised and so happy when this happened.
Same. Skip flushes the comic and Ragnar goes down the drain. Jeremy gets caught with a bomb and Skip and Mookie won the crown. He dons the crown, epic music plays, and we see a ghoulie hand crush a beer can and throw it from the toilet. And that's the end of Ghoulies 3. Yes. Ghoulies go to college. Final thoughts?
I had a lot of fun with this. I think if people are just getting into the series, there isn't, again, just the first 3, not talking about 4.
Sure.
There isn't a series that I feel is quite as diverse, 1, 2, 3, as this one is. They all really do feel like very different movies.
Yes.
These do feel like, and I kind of, made the joke, maybe it wasn't a joke before, that this was probably a different script that didn't have little monsters in it and they added them.
That's fair.
But I think you could kind of say that about all 3 of these movies, strangely enough. And I kind of love that for that. I mean, you can't, Nightmare on Elm Street 1, 3, and 4, they're very similar. You take 2 out of that, that's like a trilogy that works perfectly together. This is really different ideas, just with these strange little monsters in here. I loved how much they lean into the nonsense in this movie.
Yes. Yeah.
And if they keep doing that in 4, great. But strangely enough, like in 4, I almost want something to be like deathly serious. Like I would kind of love to see them just totally turn this around in 4.
It's like the movie Philadelphia, but they put ghoulies in it.
Yes. Oh, I would totally be down for that.
Oh no, this is so depressing. Is that a ghoulie? Yeah, I agree. I really enjoy it. I think the thing that fascinates me about the Ghoulies is that their powers don't change or ever are really defined in any way. Like with something like Critters, you have the first one and then the second one they introduced the big critter ball, which I don't think returns in 3, but they kind of talk in subtitles. But in this, like for Ghoulies, no talking in 2. They just put them in a cool environment, it's at a circus, right?
Yeah, like a little state fair or something.
Yeah. And I love those first 2 films, but Ghoulies 3 as a standalone where the characters talk for the first time. First of all, it took 3 movies, but it's a comedy, it's a college party thing. It's it's way more entertaining than I thought it was going to be because it's just packed full of wall-to-wall jokes or just weird things. Like he doesn't leave any dull moments. Like all the weird things the Ghoulies are saying to each other over top of each other is just bizarre. It's bizarre stuff.
And you're talking about the fact that the Ghoulies' powers are ill-defined. I don't even think they have powers. They're just little monsters. Like they don't appear to do things that are supernatural. I mean, they pull a woman's tongue out of her mouth, stretch it out to about 30 feet. is that them doing that, or does she have weird powers? Like, I don't. It doesn't make any sense, but it's totally fine for this movie.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. And but I mean, there's some kind of magic sucking Wes down that toilet.
No, definitely. Yeah. Again, I don't see how the Ghoulies did this. They did it somehow. It just happens off camera, and I love that.
Also, I just realized that somebody probably made that Ghoulies comic, and now I'm gonna have to go on eBay and see if I can find it.
Yeah, that would be great to have.
Just to show people, be like, this is how much of a nerd I am. I have this Ghoulies comic. It's
those are movie props that I would love to have.
Yeah.
I don't want your ruby slippers. I will take the Ghoulies comic.
Yeah. I want that toilet, actually. I think that would be a fun conversation piece for when people come over.
Some people take seats out of stadiums before they're being torn down and stuff. Like, hey, that claw-footed toilet out of the Ghoulies movie. Oh no, not the original. Sorry, Ghoulies 3.
Ghoulies 3. Do you have that one? All right. Great. Well, that brings us to final questions, which are questions just about yourself. What is a good day like for you as a college professor?
A good day is where students laugh at the things I have to say. Mm-hmm. And I don't get too many questions.
Oh, fair enough.
I mean, that is it. That's all I need. I need to get through what I need to get through, tell a few stupid jokes, and whatever I'm saying to them, they sort of absorb and don't need any instruction afterwards. That sounds terrible. I love my students. Ask me questions, guys.
And what is a bad day like?
A bad day is when I have to go in not to teach class, but to sit in a bunch of pointless meetings all day.
Mm-hmm. The bureaucracy of education.
That's it. Yeah, it's terrible. You got to do it. It's the one thing, leaving an office job where I was like, I can't wait to never have meetings again. And I went, wait, hold on, what? We have meetings? Wait, I didn't want to do this anymore. So yeah, those are bad days.
Yeah, I totally agree. When my wife was starting her business, we were like, okay, what matters to us is to be the people that make the thing. And everyone else that worked in food was like, get someone else to make the thing, and you have Monday meetings talking about sales reports and everything. We were like, yeah, nope, we're never doing that. We're never going to do that. Those meetings.
How about we do the opposite? Yeah. How about I have someone to do the sales report meetings for me, and I'll just make the thing. Yeah. That's just so much better.
Yeah, you figure out like what feeds your soul and stick with that. You know, don't put yourself through the other things.
100%.
What's your favorite thing about being a college professor?
My favorite thing is just the fact that honestly, no day is the same as the day before it. And I'm not doing the same thing day in, day out, week in, week, even semester to semester. I will teach the same classes, but I change things honestly because I get tired of it. I don't want to do the same things over and over. I don't want to give them the same projects over and over. I change things, and I like the ability to constantly change what I'm doing.
Perfect. And do you have any advice for anyone interested in being a college professor?
All right. So this is actual practical advice. This is not a joke. So if you're listening to this and you're a graphic designer or an illustrator or painter or something like that, and you're like, you know what? I don't like what I'm doing, but I'd like to teach this. Here's the thing you need. You need a master's degree. You need it. Colleges now, when I started teaching just with a bachelor's, they would let me teach adjunct. You know, they don't really do that anymore. It's really tough to find. So you need a master's, and do not get an MA. Don't get a master's of arts. Some people will not bring you in for an interview. You need an MFA, Master's of Fine Arts. I know this is getting really technical, but this is something that I'm like, I see so many people who I get resumes from, and I'm like, shit, I can't even talk to them because they don't have the right degree. Get that MFA. I know I'm talking to like one person that's listening right now, but if I'm helping that one person, all right, maybe it's not worth me talking about it, but still, it's pretty good.
First of all, we have 3 listeners.
Oh, and, good. Okay. No, I meant the graphic designer.
I'm kidding. I had to say 3, otherwise my mom would be like, he's talking to me.
No, that's okay. I'm like, listen, I'm one of your listeners, so really right now you have 2.
Oh, you were talking to yourself.
Right.
All right. So get the MFA.
Yes.
Great. Perfect. Good advice. And lastly, my final question. It's my favorite question, Doug. What are your dreams like?
Oh, my dreams, and I know from listening, you were not talking about dreams and aspirations.
Right.
I love when people answer that, and then you're like, well, what are your sleeping time dreams?
Yeah. Well, I don't ever stop someone. Sometimes they're just really great answers for
Yes.
like where
Oh,
they
no,
want
no.
their life to go. But I'm
Definitely.
always like, yeah,
Yes.
but I just wanted to know if you dream about
No. My dreams are they're either very mundane, where it's not even like a stress dream, like a work stress dream.
Yeah.
It's just boring things that are happening. Or I still have very scary dreams of those. Like I still have the same stupid dreams that scared me as a kid. Like I am in a place. This is so dumb. Nobody wants to hear about anybody else's dreams, but I have a dream where I'm back in my childhood home and it's nighttime and there's glowing outside, and I walk outside and there's a gremlin.
Whoa.
In a like a glass box outside, glowing green. I have been having that dream since I was like 5 years old.
Do we mean like a Joe Dante gremlin, or is it like just?
Yeah, it's a Joe Dante gremlin.
Whoa.
In a glass case like Lennon, and it's just glowing green. Yeah.
But it's in
and
a
I
glass
don't know why
case.
It scares me so much. Yes.
Wow.
Like he's asleep, like he's in a
He's laying down. Is it?
Yeah.
It's like. Do you have to kiss the gremlin? Is this like Sleeping Beauty?
It's very much like Sleeping Beauty. I never get to the point where I kiss the gremlin or he wakes up or anything. It's just me seeing it out the window, going outside, walking toward this glass case, and by that point, every time I wake up.
That might be one of my favorite dreams I've ever heard.
Oh, great! I'm glad.
That's a really good one.
Yeah.
I've never heard anything like it.
It's recurring, and yeah, I mean, it's weird.
That's perfect. What a great thing to end on.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for revisiting or just now visiting Ghoulies 3, Ghoulies Go to College. People can find you at on the Twitter. What's your handle?
Yeah, it's at GTGMcast, or just type in Good Times Great Movies. We're the only thing out there that has that name, so you can find us. Yeah.
And you guys, do you have a Patreon or anything people can find you?
We do. Yeah. We have a Patreon. We put out bonus episodes and unedited episodes. I just put the raw stuff up there before I cut out all the ums and uhs and weird tangents and pee breaks where I go to pee and Jamie sings a song for the patrons. So if that's something you're interested in, consider signing up.
Great. Perfect. And as always, I'm Dirk Marshall, and this has been BH Us.